for the masses.
Headline, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing? That's right. It's Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. 285 days into the new year, just 80 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. Yeah, man. It's Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? That's right, it's Tuesday, which means it is day 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. Yeah, man. And tonight, very special guest Christopher Dunn is finally here. That's right. I finally made my way to Christopher Dunn. So get ready for that. It is going to be a very, very fun and informative and knowledgeable show. Incredible. Chris Dunn is here. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, night 3 of our Egypt week, Brad Clausen is going to be joining us. That's right. The artist is going to be here. Now, we all know Brad from Pearl Jam, of course, and Metallica, and Nine Inch Nails, and Soundgarden, and I can go on and on. There's that Fish, right? I can go on and on. We know Brad from that, but his foundation and his knowledge when it comes to ancient Egypt and artwork and sculpture and the symbology and what it all means, and how not only does he incorporate it into his own artwork and his rock and roll stuff, but how it's changed us and what it truly means. And he's one of the great artists on this planet and of our generation. Serious business. Tomorrow night, Brad Clausen is here. So what? I mean, last night, Manu. Tonight, Chris. Tomorrow night, Brad. It just doesn't get any better. It really doesn't. Why is everybody going with this Taco Tuesday? How do you guys know that that's what I'm going to do tonight? Well, it's my birthday. Well, tomorrow's my birthday. Okay, so let's be clear on that. But if I push it, I can get it to midnight, and then I get to eat what I want, right? All the way through till midnight tomorrow night. So maybe I will do a taco truck on the way home. But that's on me. But thank you for the suggestion. I think we're doing tacos tonight. There you go. It is night 2, Egypt week here on Fade to Black. You know what to do. All the social media platforms, that's what we do here. On Stellar, on Stellar.com, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everything is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. You know what to do, okay? And head over to onstellar.com, register. It's such a great social media platform, designed and built for you. So much fun to hang out over there. I did it all day today, by the way. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, and I went. You know what? I'm going to do this. I don't know. Maybe by Thursday, I'll have all. You know what I did today? Rita doesn't even know this, but I went and did some birthday shopping on Amazon for myself. I did. I really did, and I think one is going to be here tomorrow. And I can't wait to show it to you guys. And then there'll be another one here on Thursday. I couldn't. It was a pair, but it was weird. It was a set, but I couldn't get the set to ship on the same day or arrive on the same day. You know, and Amazon's funny with that. You know, you have to do this, and you can get them both on the same shipment if you do that. And I couldn't get it to line up. I couldn't through a bunch of different vendors. I couldn't get it to arrive on the same day. I'm so upset about that. But anyway, so that's what I did today. I shopped for myself, and I just couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself, but you're gonna really dig it, so I'll show it to you on Thursday. And I don't want to. It's gonna have to be Thursday because if I do one tomorrow and show it to you, then the one on Thursday, But if I do it all at the same time, yeah. So you'll have to wait until Thursday. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, by the way. They're coming in now, and I really appreciate that. It is, I know, it's the big double nickel. Yeah, that's right. 55 years old. I don't feel it. I know I'm not begging for compliments here. You don't have to say, Jimmy, you don't look it. But I certainly don't feel it. I didn't. If this is what 55 is, because when I was a kid, 55 was bleeping ancient, and the people that I knew that were 55 acted 55, and they looked 55. I'm not that person. I don't feel it. All right, so there you go. But yeah, 55 years old. All right. Okay, where am I at? At JChurch Radio is Twitter. Very simple. You know what to do. Go follow, like, and subscribe over at jimmychurchradio.com. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. Any questions or comments during the show, just use hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Okay, I've got some sad news, breaking news, and I've got to get this out of the way, and I'm crushed. Rita is crushed, but our dear friend of this community and of yours and of this show, Celeste Yarnell, passed away. She left this earth this past Sunday, October 7th. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her husband, Nazim, and her family. So Celeste is just an amazing, dynamic, smart, beautiful person. And long struggle, and we all know about that, but it's just sad. Sad. And I think of a couple of things when I think of Celeste. Most people think of Star Trek, and I get that. I really do. It just popped up on Twitter. It took every bit of that long. There she is in Star Trek. But it's Elvis, man. Elvis. Celeste, I hope that you're in a very, very, very beautiful place. And you know how many friends that you left behind down here. So just go and do your thing, and we'll see you soon, okay? Celeste Yarnell passed away October 7th. She was 74 years old. All right, other breaking news. Nikki Haley surprised the world today by resigning as the United States ambassador to the United Nations. Nobody knows why. A year and a half on the job and quit. I gotta say, Nikki, I think she was actually liked. I really do. All right, for the political world and the world stage, politics in general. Nikki Haley. Wow. So anyway, for whatever reason, I think she surprised everybody, including the White House, maybe even her family. I think she just woke up today and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And there you go. She resigned today, ambassador to the United Nations. Fernando Albon. Now, I need you to listen to this. This is huge breaking news. Fernando Albon, one of the suspects accused of trying to assassinate Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, right, with drones armed with explosives, died by suicide after jumping out a 10th floor window of the Bolivarian intelligence service, the Venezuelan's intelligence agency. And yeah, right. What? Okay, I'm supposed to be a professional broadcaster here. I'm not supposed to have that kind of reaction to the news. I'm just supposed to report the news, right? I'm not supposed to have an opinion. Yeah, right. The floodwaters that followed Hurricane Florence, which made landfall in North Carolina on September 14th, have now spawned millions of mega monster mosquitoes across the state. And they are 3 times the size of normal mosquitoes. And they can bite through 2 layers of clothing. Oh, my God. Right? I mean, you've got flooding, you've got this, you got your house, you got your kids, you got things, you got stuff to worry about. And now you got giant swarms of giant monster mosquitoes that are going to attack you. Can you imagine the stinger and the mouth and the bite on a giant mosquito? A giant pissed off mosquito? Think about that for a second. All right, the big announcement came today. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced its nominees for induction into the 2019 class. Are you ready, kids? Def Leppard, Devo, John Prine, Roxy Music, Stevie Nicks, Todd Rundgren, LL Cool J, Kraftwerk, Janet Jackson, MC5 out of Detroit, Radiohead, Rage Against the Machine, Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, The Cure, and the Zombies. Now, I gotta say, okay, all right. Let me get to the top 5 artists, as selected by the public, will be announced in December. The 2019 induction ceremony will be held at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York on March 29th, 2019. And I'm going to say it now. Can't they all get inducted? Out of every year, every announcement, every year by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we've all went, oh, come on. Really? What is this? But that... Def Leppard, Devo, John Prine, Roxy Music, Stevie Nicks, Todd Rundgren, LL Cool J, Kraftwerk, Janet Jackson, MC5, Radiohead, Rage Against the Machine, Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, The Cure, and the Zombies. Huh? And you know what? That sounds like, you know what? I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to do, for my bumper music this weekend on Coast, I'm using this list for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm just telling you right now. That is it's just not right. Only the top 5 make it. And I don't even know where to go with that. Def Leppard, they deserve it. Roxy Music, MC5, Rage Against the Machine for sure. The Cure, yes. The Zombies, Todd Rundgren. You know, man, LL Cool J, Janet Jackson. I don't know what to do here. John Prine. Oh, man. That's incredible. It's an incredible list. I just gave you mine, though. Def Leppard, yeah. Got to go there. You got to go there. MC5, yes. Rage Against the Machine, yes. The Cure, the Zombies. There's my 5. You know, and I'm cutting out Roxy Music. That ain't right. Stevie Nicks, that ain't right. Todd Rundgren, hello, it's me. Oh, man. MC5. MC5. Kick out the jams. Who even out there knows kick out the jams? That's right. Kick out the jams. I toured with this band. They were called the Big F. And I think they opened with Kick Out the Jams. Or they closed with a cover version of I can't remember. Mark Christian, if you're listening right now, tweet in. What song did you get? Kick Out the Jams. Was that opener or was that an encore? I can't remember. They did a good version of it, though. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner. You can also become a Fade or Not in our membership section on the site. All you got to do is click on that. That's all you got to do. And you get commercial-free downloadable archives, autographed gear, all that stuff. Okay, all right. All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Sharon Osbourne is only 66. Director Guillermo del Toro today is 54. Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, Pacific Rim, The Shape of Water. Didn't that win? That won the Oscar last year, didn't it? A couple of years ago. Tony Shalhoub today is 65. Sean Lennon today is 43. That's right. Son of John and Yoko. Which takes me to our dead guy's birthday today is John Lennon. 1940 to 1980, of course, died at the age of 40 in New York City. He released Double Fantasy on November 17th, right before his death on December 8th, 1980. The album won a Grammy Award for Album of the Year. And when that happened, I was in high school. When John was shot and killed. I was in high school back in Indianapolis, going to Warren Central High School. I was a senior, and snow outside. It was my senior year in high school, and it was just a very fun Christmas. I remember that. And that album and the hits that were rolling out were all over the radio, right? And it was just, I think of that winter, right, in Indianapolis. And, just like starting over, right? Whew, man. So anyway, I just came home and walked in my bedroom and turned on my little ghetto blaster and got the news from Q95. John Lennon shot and killed today in New York. And I've never forgotten that tie-in for me. That album, Double Fantasy, just like starting over, Christmas, Indianapolis, and John Lennon and Q95. Man, it's just bizarre to me. But there you go. And isn't it, it's Sean Lennon's birthday too. Very, very, very cool. On this day in history, 1992, an 18-year-old Michelle Knapp is watching television in her parents' living room in Peekskill, New York, when she hears a thunderous crash in the driveway. Now, she found a sizable hole in the rear end of her car, which was an orange 1980 Chevy Malibu, by the way. A matching hole in the gravel driveway underneath the car, and in that hole, what looked like a bowling ball or a football. It was warm to the touch and smelled like rotten eggs. Well, the next day, a curator from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City confirmed that the object was indeed a meteorite. And that happened on this day in 1992. Fader fact. Russian cosmonauts. Now, remember, this is vetted. This is a fact. This is a fader fact. Russian cosmonauts used to pack a shotgun in their space capsule, in Soyuz, in their space capsule, in case they landed in Siberia and had to fend off bears. And that is your fader fact. I know you're thinking I'm making it up. Okay? I've got to do a fader fact book. You know, that's it. I got to do a fader fact page. We've done 5 years worth of shows. I wonder how many fader facts that is. Well, it would be 930 fader facts. Is that enough for a book? How many on a page? Is that enough for a book? Should I do a book of fader facts? Yeah, I think I should. But I didn't write it. I didn't write the facts. I didn't create the facts. But could I do what? I need clearances? Do I have to get everybody's permission? Like the Russian cosmonauts? Would I have to get clearance from Moscow and Putin to put that in a book? I need to talk to a lawyer. Yeah. Tonight is night 2 of our Egypt week. We have very special guest, Christopher Dunn. He is finally here. Tomorrow night, artist Brad Clausen is joining the show for the first time. 3 nights, 3 first-time guests. Thursday is another fader night with open lines all night long. Now, got to hit my fade to black blend. You know what I did today? I actually did this. Numana Food Storage. They have protein packs, so you can get organic chicken, right? It's dehydrated, and then they also have seasoned ground beef, right? So I decided to try the ground beef. So I made the ground beef at home, and I made nachos. I did. Oh, why did I think of that? I just thought of that all of a sudden. All right. Well, anyway. Our community. Oh, I was thinking of Fade to Black Blend. That's why I thought of that. Our community has some of the brightest intellectuals guiding us through the years. And it's just an amazing thing that we have these bright, beautiful researchers and authors. And we speak of them often here on the show. And I'm talking about, the top of the tippity top, like Graham Hancock, Robert Bivall, Robert Schock, Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, Andrew Collins, right? Jacques Vallée, Eric Von Daniken. And of course, John Anthony West and Jim Mars, who both recently left this realm for another. But the list is both long and short, depending on how you look at it. But this is totally not complete. But you get the idea, right? But I, just like all of you, have looked towards these shining lights of knowledge for their next book, their next public appearance, their next documentary, their next interview, the next gem, that nugget, right? That missing puzzle piece that we're all looking for. And we all do it. We do. Christopher Dunn is also on that list. And he's on that list for so many reasons. Our community needs someone like Chris that has that professional background, the street cred, the CV, that looks at the world with a different set of eyes so that we too can look at things just a little bit differently. But when you have that engineering background that Chris possesses, you also get to share the other side of what is really going on, how things were done, how they were made, constructed, designed. And, of course, ultimately, what they may have been used for. And it could be anything, all things, everything. If it doesn't grow out of the ground, somebody built it, somebody designed it, somebody thought about it. It has a purpose. It has a meaning. It's used for something. And it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if it's a palette to spread makeup on your face, or something to grind, something to move, something to set on, something to build with. It doesn't matter. Everything that you look at around you right now, look around the room that you are in. If you're in a car, look around. Everything in there was designed, built, manufactured for a purpose by somebody. That's what Christopher does. I have, over the years, I have watched, I have read, I have listened to just about everything he has done. It's the way my brain works. I look at things differently, and I need different things. I like documentaries. I like nonfiction books. I like instruction manuals. That's the way my brain works. Now, I need that mechanical, that engineering speak. I live for that. And although I can appreciate the esoteric, the spiritual, the supernatural take on things, and I need that too, there's another side that has to exist to put it all together, to make it all work. And you need to think about things like that. There are, when you look at, I'll give you a perfect example of how my brain works. I'm at a museum. I'm at the Met in New York with Rita, and we're looking at Egyptian mummies, and we're going down, and I'm looking at these mummies, and then below the mummies are these golden sandals, and they're beautiful, and they're artistic, and there are those that are out there that are going to look at it for its aesthetic value and its beauty, and you should, right? Because that's what they were there for. I look at it and go, how did they make those? Look how thin the gold is. Look how it's shaped. Look at the little beads. Look at what? How old are these? 4,000 years. How did they, what? Right? That's the way I look at it. And I look at everything that way. Everything, every wall, every building, every piece of carving and writing and text and this. I look at everything that way. How did they do it? Even today, I do the very same thing. There are reasons why, everybody, that it has taken so long to finally have Mr. Dunn on this show. And I'm not going to go into them here. I'm a little embarrassed, but we have waited long enough, and tonight is the night. Christopher Dunn is here. I'm going to break away for this quick commercial break, and I'll be back with our guest, Christopher Dunn. Night 2 of our fabulous Egypt week here on Fade to Black, and we're only halfway through it. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's right. Simple. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And I'll be right back with our guest, Chris Dunn. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to getthetea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Join the conversation. You know there's going to be 4,000 tweets tonight. And you need to jump over to hashtag F2B and join in the conversation. It's an amazing thing to see every night on the show. That many tweets. What a great audience. Tonight's night 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, artist Brad Clausen is going to be joining the show. But tonight, it's Christopher Dunn. And Chris has worked at every level of high-tech manufacturing, from machinist, toolmaker, programmer, and operator of high-power industrial lasers, project engineer, and laser operations manager. Chris's Pyramid Odyssey began in 1977 after he read Peter Tompkins' book, Secrets of the Great Pyramid. His immediate reaction after learning of the Great Pyramid's precision and design characteristics was to consider that this edifice may have had an original purpose that differed from conventional opinion. Chris concluded that it must have originally been built to provide a highly technical society with an energy in short. It was a very large machine. Now, in 1998, the Giza Power Plant, Technologies of Ancient Egypt, was published. Of Ancient Egypt was published in 2010. And in this work, he focused on the manufacturing capabilities of the ancient Egyptians and the magisterial characteristics of Egyptian architectural and manufacturing wizardry. Chris has published over a dozen magazine articles, including the much-quoted Advanced Machining in Ancient Egypt in Analog back in August 1984,
and has had his research referenced in over a dozen books on Egypt. In the United States, he's appeared on PAX Television, the History Channel, Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, Lifetime Television, and now tonight, Fade to Black. And I would like to welcome for the first time, Christopher Dunn. Chris, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Jimmy. Thank you very much for your invitation tonight. And may I wish you a very happy birthday for tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. The double nickel.
Yeah, double nickel.
Yeah, you know, before you say it, you can go ahead and call me youngster. Go ahead.
Okay, young man.
Yeah,
Let's get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get the first-time guest disclaimer out of the way. It's an honor for me to finally do this with you, but Chris, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts, and where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. You ready?
Absolutely.
Now, the next time you're on the show, you don't get the first-time guest disclaimer. You can't even ask for it. Okay, so I'm just...
That's okay. That will ring in my memory for many years to come.
Oh, man. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that we finally have the opportunity to sit down and chat. And I don't know if you heard my opening remarks, but I, like so many others in our community, have followed you and researched you over the years. And I want to, out of the gate, on behalf of our community and everybody here at Fade to Black, I want to thank you for your tenacity, for your research, for your dedication, and for everything that you have done for us. Thank you, sir. Okay? All right.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I mean, it has been my pleasure and my honor to be able to contribute in some way.
Now, I want to do this first, and I kind of warned you about this. I'm going to get the fanboy stuff out of the way. I'll be objective. I'll be objective for the rest of the show. Okay, I'll be professional. But for you, because I have a design background. So I went through all of the big corporations, and I know what that's like to be in a professional engineering setting. So I tend to look at life like that. It's really influenced me a lot. I look at the industrial design and just I look at everything that way first. And you have that same type of background, but you also give us that in our community. But through your professional career leading up to 1977, did you have an interest? Did you know what Egypt was about? Ufology or ancient astronaut, any of that stuff? Did you have any interest at all?
Oh, yes. I had a huge interest in Egypt. In fact, my sister is married to an Egyptian, and it always fascinated me, Egypt. And then the group that I used to join every Friday night, talk about philosophy, generally Egypt and the pyramids was a topic of conversation. So that was, it's always been a huge fascination for me. And then, of course, the books that were published back in the early 70s, 60s, I think one of the first books that I bought was The Morning of the Magicians by Pauls and Bergier, and that was a remarkable book that I absolutely devoured, and it opened up, in my mind, the disconnect between what we're taught in school, which is really very light, and then having a vista put in front of you that describes a more remarkable civilization and something that was going on in the past that is a part of our history that we had not been advised of. And so, it starts out where you feel like you have been shortchanged a little bit, but then at the same time, you begin to look at how this particular movement grew over time. And then during that time, as you mentioned in your introduction, in 1977, there was a book that was on the bookshelf. It was a kind of what I would call a renegade bookstore, where they had all these, strange titles like "Secrets of the Great Pyramid" by Peter Tompkins. But that book was. It kind of jumped off the shelf at me, and so I made the purchase and took it home. And it's a absolutely remarkable book, and it's opened my mind to a lot of other researchers. When you go through the history of research of the Great Pyramid, and you learn about Davidson and Howard Weiss and William Flinders Petrie.
Right.
It's a remarkable body of work that has been generated for over 100 years. And so people were asking the same questions that we are asking back in the 1700s.
They were. Isn't that a fascinating aspect out of all of this? Whether it's DeLubitz or Tompkins, everybody, even the fringe. Right, even the French, they were asking the same questions that we are asking today. They approached Giza and Egypt and looked around and just what right? They all asked the very, very same questions, and we're still chasing it.
Still chasing it, yes, and just scratching the surface, really, because what we are left with. Is just the skeleton of an ancient civilization, and that skeleton is made up of highly precise granite and limestone and diorite blocks, and so actually trying to determine what the intelligence was behind it, what the flesh and blood and the clothing looked like that would actually overlay this civilization. Or overlay this skeleton of a civilization. It's always a huge interest to me, because when you look at, say, the Great Pyramid and the precision of the Great Pyramid, and I think you talked a little bit about that to Manu last night, and that was a really fascinating discussion for me, because it just hit me on so many nerve points, that discussion, because it was the precision that spoke to me, and then the contribution that William Flinders Petrie made to this discussion back in the 1880s. Is unparalleled anywhere, because he was a practical guy like yourself, like me, and his learning of the monuments was through taking measurements, and of course his father was an engineer. He was a self-educated surveyor. And so he had a technical background, and he applied it when he went to Egypt and actually uncovered some remarkable features. I mean, if you talk about precision, and I know the pyramid has always been a huge fascination for people, but we have to consider that you have a structure where they thought it was necessary to construct a downward shaft or passageway called the descending passage, and over 150 feet of this passageway is in alignment within 20 thousandths of an inch, which is the thickness of a thumbnail, of being absolutely straight. And then, of course, his measurements of the remaining casing blocks, they were manufactured to within 10 thousandths of an inch, half the thickness of a thumbnail. And all of these kind of markers spoke to me that the builders of the pyramids, whether they were the ancient Egyptians or an earlier civilization, they were actually demonstrating the state of the art that they had at that time. They had that capability. This was not a coincidence in what they created with the Great Pyramid and a lot of other artifacts in Egypt too.
Take me to that moment, if you will, Chris, where you're in your professional life. You know, life is good. Take me to that moment where you just went, you know what, enough is enough. What was that moment where you just, okay, I'm going to dedicate a huge portion of my life and my future to getting to the bottom of this? There was a moment where you just made that left-hand turn. What was it?
There was actually several moments. One of them, I woke up early in the morning. It was a Sunday morning, and I had a vision of the pyramid with the shafts. And it seemed like there was energy streaming out of these shafts inside the Great Pyramid, and then the hieroglyphs that were kind of written on the side of it. It was all in like fluorescent green. So that was a remarkable wow moment for me. And then the next one came when I was immersed in Tompkins' book. And it just struck me like the light bulb went off over my head, that energy was actually coming through the pyramid and being channeled to the outside, and that energy was coming from the earth. And so at that moment, I entered a space that had surrounded me for decades. And after that, as I tried to determine just exactly what this machine was doing, because ultimately, how successful you are in your research, it depends on what kind of a foundation you base your research on, and that is basically your ideology, if you will, or your belief. And I was convinced that what we had here was a structure that was built with the precision of a machine, only on a scale of acres. And to illustrate that, if you take like one side of the Great Pyramid, which I think is about 755 feet, you have, and then say you scale that down to the size of a machine, and perhaps you're laying down a machine base, and you want to make a precision base. If you have a machine base of about 20 feet, and you want to build the same precision proportionally that you see in the Great Pyramid, that machine base would have to be flat within like 2/10,000ths of an inch. That is 0.0002.
That's insane. It's insane.
Which is insane, yeah. And that is not required on a machine basis today. Generally, they have specifications where, depending on the use of the machine, the requirements may be like 2/10,000ths of an inch per foot. Not over 20 feet. And so, the Great Pyramid, and we talk about it all the time, was leveled within 7/8 of an inch, over 13 acres. And so that makes a guy like me, a guy like you, and a lot of others just sit up and take notice, because it's like, oh, wow. Why were they doing it?
It doesn't. That's right. It doesn't make any sense. And you brought up one of the things that I bring it up over and over again, Chris, because I want this audience to really firmly understand and grasp what is going on here. And you can talk about the pyramid and look at it and the layers and the steps and 2.5 million blocks. You can talk the Grand Gallery. Go for it. But it's that ascending passageway that which was either built first or as the pyramid was being constructed, that part doesn't matter. What matters is it was through 150 to 200 feet of solid rock, utterly perfectly straight and square, that would require precision instruments that even today we would struggle with, and we probably wouldn't even do it because it wouldn't be necessary for anything. And that needs to be realized, and it gets lost in the translation.
Yes, I think from a construction perspective, those kind of tolerances are unnecessary. For precision instruments, then you would find them necessary, and so essentially, there are like two conditions, maybe three, that govern how you actually manufacture something, and what the results of the work are. One is something is so important that if you don't have machines to actually create those very precise surfaces, you still have to create them anyway because of the importance of the artifact. The other condition that would exist is that the machines that you have and are applying to create these artifacts are capable of no less precision. And that is what we have found today over the life of manufacturing development since the Industrial Revolution, where the machines today are capable of greater precision than even those parts of a product that you are manufacturing that don't require the precision have that precision anyway, because the machine is capable of nothing less.
I'm sorry. Did I interrupt?
No, I was just going to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, exactly. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is you walk around with a machinist square and a level and a laser in your pocket, right? You're just like Indiana Jones, right? You're whipping it out all the time and checking these things because yours is as amazed as everybody else. But that's the way you look at it. And now we're going to head towards a break. But I want to ask you one basic question that needs to be addressed, at least for me personally. When we look at like the walls in the descending passageway, or the surfaces of different blocks and construction and walls where they are utterly flat, and when we are told that they used round stone ball hammers, right, and copper chisels and chicken bones, that yeah, right, that how do you get a billiard table smooth tabletop with those kinds of instruments? I don't understand what they are trying to convince me of. I just don't see it.
Well, the descending passage, the excavated portion where they actually cut the bedrock out, the surfaces are straight, but they're not necessarily that precise in terms of smoothness of finish. In fact, they're pretty rough. Now, the constructed portion where they laid blocks of limestone to build the descending passage and all the other passages and internal chambers, those are more precise and flatter and smoother than the excavated portion. So, as far as the construction of the descending passage, it had a particular function, but it didn't have the requirements of a smooth billiard table or an inspection table that you would find in an inspection department in a manufacturing plant.
But I know you understand where I'm going with this. When you look at, and I'm just talking about, point your finger in a direction, and you're going to see something that that has these smooth finishes, and you don't pound your way to a smooth finish. The obelisk, the granite blocks that are lining the walls, or the King's Chamber, or even Ramses, the statues. Those weren't done with stone hammers. They just weren't. You're not leveling and smoothing and rounding these surfaces with those. It's just an impossibility.
Oh, no, absolutely not. But there are examples on my website that your listeners can go and look at. If they go to gizapower.com and go to the articles page, there's one there. It's called the Machine Granite of Ancient Egypt. It's an article in there. And if you scroll down on that page, you go down to a place where I'm in the Serapeum, and it's exhibit 27, and you see me inside one of the boxes in the Serapeum, and I'm using a square. It's a toolmaker's square that is precise within 1/10,000th of an inch. So a lot of the conversation about crafting these artifacts in Egypt revolves around the cutting tools and what kind of cutting tools they used. And of course, my argument has been that the tools really don't exist in the archaeological record to explain them.
Right.
They're incapable of doing so. But also lacking in the archaeological record are the inspection instruments necessary to check these surfaces and the geometries of them to make sure that they are indeed to specification.
Flat and straight.
Flat and straight and square.
And square.
So you have on that exhibit 26, so the left-hand side, you see me holding that square up against the underside of the lid.
Right.
And you see the reflection in the granite.
Yes.
And there's no aberrations in that reflection, and you see that it's dead square. Now you go across to the other photograph on the right, and it's the opposite wall. And the same thing, it's pressed up against the underside of the granite lid and down the surface of the inside wall. So this actually tells us volumes about what they were trying to accomplish, because in order for those conditions to exist, those two walls opposite each other by around 6 feet or something like that across, they would have to be perfectly parallel with each other in order for that condition to exist.
Look, we need to take a break right here, Chris. We'll pick up right where we're leaving off when we come back. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn, night 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. It's going to be one of those conversations. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be amazing. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Our guest, Christopher Dunn. More with Chris right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn. Yes, he is finally here. It's night 2 of our Egypt week on Fade to Black. And before the break, we were talking about these black granite sarcophagus and the pictures, Chris, of you that have been posted up on Twitter with the Toolmaker Square. Just absolutely epic, man. They're just the best. But I wanted to make a quick comment. A couple of years ago, I'm in New York, and we go to the Met, Rita and I, and they had a black granite sarcophagus there, and it was dated 2500 BC. And I don't know how many tons it weighed. You know, it's ginormous. You know, probably 5 foot, 6 foot by 10 foot, 5 foot high, giant box. And I go up, and what most don't realize, if you've never had this experience that you have had, You go up and you touch it, the sarcophagus, you knock on it, and you realize how cold it is to the touch, how dense it is, how hard it is. And then you look at the inscriptions and you back up and you just go, it's impossible. And right after that, Rita and I walk over to this display case, and they had a little stela. It was about 2-3 feet tall, with the beautiful hieroglyphics on it, and the date, again, 2000, 2500 BC. And next to the stela, they actually had the audacity at the Met to say, and these are the tools that were used to inscribe this stela. And you look down, and it's like this little copper pick, little tiny pick, and a stone, and these are the tools. And I'm looking, so I immediately called John Anthony West. I call him on the phone, and I said, I'm looking at this stuff, John, and and to hear him laugh with me as we were talking about these things, about it just being impossible. And it's truly the case. You need to actually see one of these megalithic sarcophagus, or and feel what black granite and red granite feels like, and how dense it is, to understand that we're getting into the realm of being just impossible to do with the tools that they are telling us they did it with.
Oh, absolutely. My first experience of that is rather amusing, actually. It was the first time that I traveled to Egypt in 1986. And my article, Advanced Machining in Ancient Egypt, was published in 1984. So I threw a few copies in my bag, and I went to the museum in Cairo, and I talked to one of the curators there, and I gave him a copy of the article. and so I thought, yeah, well, maybe he'd be interested in reading it. He looked at it, and he sniffed his nose up. He goes, turned his nose up, opened a drawer in his desk, and just flung it in the desk and said, "Thank you." And then one of the Egyptologists that was roaming the museum, I was talking to him. I said, "Well, you have these unbelievable monuments out on the Giza Plateau. What about the tools that were used to create them?" And he says, "Oh, no problem. I can show you those." And he took us upstairs in the Cairo Museum and to a tool case, and there in the tool case is just exactly what you described: some copper picks, copper chisels. And I said, "Is this all you have? I mean, that is not possible. What about cutting granite?" He says, "You need to go to Aswan. If you want to learn how the ancient Egyptians quarried granite, you need to go to Aswan." And so I said, "Okay." So he took me over to the travel agent and made sure that I bought 2 tickets to fly to Aswan, and which I did the following day. And so the explanation for how they quarried the granite was that they cut these slots around the quarry, around the bedrock, and then they inserted wooden wedges and then soaked them with water, and eventually the rock split. The interesting thing about that was that when I got back to Cairo and I was roaming around Khafra's pyramid on the Giza Plateau, and on the south side of Khafra, you've got all these granite casing stones that have been stripped off the pyramid. And the tool marks that are on the stone were identical to the tool marks, the slots that you see at Aswan. And so you put 2 and 2 together, you'd like, well, they wouldn't quarry something, or use those tools to quarry something, transport them 500 miles, and then proceed to use the same methods to strip them off the pyramid. And then I learned a little more, and I started to look at Roman quarrying methods. And you see the Roman tool marks, and they're identical to what you see at Aswan and what you see on the Giza Plateau. And so it's already in the record that the Giza Plateau was used as a huge quarry.
Are you suggesting
by the Romans?
Right, and so this would suggest the Romans had steel, and now steel. Okay, I can back up and go. Okay, we can have that conversation, but not at 2700 BC. We can't have that conversation. It's two different conversations. They're almost 2,000 years apart.
Yes, they are, and but the interesting thing is that they are claiming that those marks were the marks of the ancient Egyptians,
right?
Which it seems clear to me that they're not ancient Egyptian quarrying marks because, well, you look at around the quarry, look at the unfinished obelisk, and they're totally different quarry marks. So the Romans were quarrying at Aswan, and they were quarrying on the Giza Plateau too, and selecting stones and using them in their buildings, obviously.
Now, we're talking about, it's 20 years since the Giza power plant was published. You've been doing this research in serious interest going back to, of course, 1977. How... or has your opinion changed over the years? Where are you today? Are you even more extreme in your thought and methodology going from 1980 to now, or has it changed at all?
It's broadened quite a bit. I think my fundamental belief and understanding, the basis on which I base the book on and my research on, as far as the Great Pyramid being a machine that produced energy or transduced energy, is still solid, and that hasn't changed. As far as the broad function of the Great Pyramid, that has been enhanced a little bit.
How so?
Because, well, it gets into the effects of acoustics and how people respond to an acoustic environment in terms of whether they are pleased with a particular frequency or collection of frequencies, whether it's harmonious with them, and then what those harmonious effects have on the body, particularly the brain, and how it would affect their mood and state of mind. And I think that that is a byproduct of the process, where you have really it's a holistic device that served more than one purpose. The prime function of it was to actually harmonize the planet, to harmonize the plates, and to draw energy from the plates, so to alleviate earthquakes. And then because they were harmonizing the plates, and they were doing it in such a way that was in harmony with the human body, with the earth, the universe itself, then that it wasn't a machine that was jarring to the soul or the spirit. It was a machine that gave people comfort and a degree of happiness. I mean, architecture that we live with gives us, it connects us with the community, and such is the Great Pyramid. Even now, as it's not functioning to its full capacity, it still harmonizes and gathers people to experience being in the pyramid or being around the pyramid, because it's definitely a very high energy spot.
Yeah, you bring up one of the fascinating points for me, and that is 440, pitched, which is the note A. and it is tuned to a 440, and that frequency, pretty much no matter where you are in the pyramid, will resonate through there and even amplify. Through not only the passageways, but through the chambers and through the individual rooms. Well, that would indicate an engineering design concept for everything to function as one piece.
Yes, I mean the whole pyramid is tuned like a very fine musical instrument.
Right.
And the point I made in my book was that there are a few pieces missing. So you do have energy that if I describe the Great Pyramid as a coupled oscillator. In other words, a device that a coupled oscillator is a device that if it's attached to a larger vibrating object, as long as that larger vibrating object continues to produce energy or vibration, then the oscillator, which resonates with it, will draw power from it. And so it's been my contention since I wrote the book that the Great Pyramid and the other pyramids are actually coupled oscillators with the Earth. They're attached to the Earth. They have a relationship, not just physically, but dimensionally with the Earth. And then when you get into the interior, of course, all the pyramids have an acoustic kind of resonance to them. The Great Pyramid has been studied more than the other. I mean, people are still going over it with a fine-tooth comb, trying to glean more information out of it. But dimensionally and even measurably with instruments, it is a very finely tuned acoustic device.
Now, I would say that most of our audience has read the Giza Power Plant, and if they haven't, and the stragglers out there, they need to go and get the book and read it. So I'm not going to visit the specifics of the book, but certainly there's been a lot of research that has come to light over the last couple of years, and in the last couple of months, some pretty exciting papers, and one of them was the EM electromagnetic published paper that came out 2 months ago. To me, Chris, that validates and in a weird way kind of vindicates that book. But how did you approach that paper, and were you excited, and did it help you in some of your concepts that you've been trying to present?
Well, the electromagnetic nature of the Great Pyramid has been known for many years. I mean, there are anecdotal stories of people being shocked by receiving electrical shocks when they've been climbing the Great Pyramid. And that particular paper was, when I first read it, I thought, it was kind of like, okay, that really fits. But as I have studied it more and kind of let it settle in my mind, I do see that it has a tremendous impact, and it does dovetail into the theory about the Great Pyramid channeling energies to actually build power and be able to transduce those energies. And so when we see all, the full range of mechanical energy and electromechanical energy, and these are all working in unison together, I think it supports the idea or the theory tremendously. It does not, it does not support the mechanical function that I describe in the Giza Power Plant. If you take it, as two separate bits of research, it's like, well, the theory I lay out is based on the evidence found inside the Great Pyramid, but it's more of a mechanical thing. I mean, the electromechanical energy comes in when the hydrogen gas is pumped to a higher energy level in the King's chamber.
Right.
But as far as other energies actually being drawn into the pyramid and assisting in that process, I had not considered that, but I'm certainly considering that now. Now, as far as what the final analysis will be, I think it's a very attractive piece of research that really helps. I mean, a lot of people. I received tons of emails from people who claimed that I was vindicated, and when I first started to get these emails after this paper was published, it didn't settle with me. I was like, well, I didn't really think that I was vindicated in terms of the technologies or the science that I was describing, because this was kind of separate from it. But now that I think about it, I think it does kind of blend into it. Maybe not totally vindicate everything that I've written about, but it certainly would blend into it. And
yeah, I think that the emails that you were getting and what I'm certainly alluding to is that it takes the focus away from the case that has been presented from conventional Egyptologists that it was just a tomb. And now we have a deliberate engineering aspect that it was designed, I'm going to say the word deliberately for a purpose that was not the tomb that it was intended, and what we have been told time and time again. And I think that's what those emails are suggesting to you.
Yes.
So that's where I'm coming from, and we need more of that.
It's there becomes a tipping point, and I think we've almost reached that point now. Certainly, it's been reached on my research into the machining of the granite. It's kind of like people really get it, and there've been millions of tourists travel to Egypt, and even today they are traveling around Egypt and saying, "Yep, that was machined." And these people are scientists, engineers. I took a tour to Egypt in March, and the folks who signed up for my tour were very accomplished professionals. We had several engineers, a geologist, some really wonderful, very, very smart people, construction people. There was a microwave technician. There were quality engineers who were looking at the precision of the stone. And it was quite an experience to actually share my work with the people who really got it. Some of them, not those that came on my tour, but some of them, the letters or emails or texts that I get, it's kind of like, okay, we get it, and so it's like I don't really have to press my case on the machining aspect anymore. It's like it's already out there. People are recognizing it. They agree with it. And these are people who you would actually draw upon if you were to actually create these artifacts. If you wanted to create these artifacts, you wouldn't recruit Egyptologists to create these artifacts. You would recruit technicians, engineers, machinists, tool makers, builders, those who have expertise in how things are made. But they get it.
Yeah, they do. I think, and it's going to be soon, I'm going to make this very brief. My opinion doesn't matter. But I think that very soon it's going to get to the point, Chris, where they're going to have to tap out. Right? They're going to have to say, yeah. Uncle.
But that really has never bothered me. I haven't been on a crusade to convince Egyptologists. I figure the work will be out there, and maybe another generation. You would have that that paradigm shift. I mean, when you consider, Jimmy, you go back. I picked up Petrie's work in 1978.
Right.
And that was like 100 years after he was doing his research.
Right.
100 years.
Right.
Right. And so all credit to Flinders Petrie for being such a pioneer and putting his thoughts on paper. But in another 100 years, we just don't know what the intellectual landscape's going to look like when it comes to our understanding of Egypt. I can tell you now that the Egyptians, I think if there is going to be a revolution of thought on the Egyptian monuments, it's going to come from the Egyptians. It's not going to come from the West. And they have a greater stake in correcting the record than what we do.
I had, we're going to head towards a break. I want your comment on this. It was interesting. I had a limo driver. We're driving from Manhattan to JFK, right? We're at the end of our stay there in a limo driver. And he finds out who I am, right? And he's like, whoa, we got to talk. And I said, okay. And he said he was an Egyptologist. 8 years of school in Egypt. And he said that on a general level, that everybody going to school there understands that they're being lied to, that they know that these conversations go on all day long. And he said in the end, he got so frustrated with the system there that he packed up and came to the States. That it is completely polluted, that they are telling you to say one thing, but you're learning another. He said, I'm going to be honest, man. We are all, as kids in school, asking the same questions. This is impossible. He said, and trust me, that's the way that it is. But if you're going to get your degree, you have to conform. And that he was hard, fast, and angry in this conversation. It was fascinating, Chris, to hear him present his case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm working with an Egyptologist for my tours, Mohammed Ibrahim, who is a wonderful guy.
The best.
And he totally gets it and supports it. And he is he's preaching it too, and he's friends, or he was taught by Zahi Hawass. He's friendly with the director of the Great Pyramid, and they have a wonderful relationship. But they're all questioning and looking at.
We got to head towards a break. Wasn't Zahi his teacher in school before he was the director?
Yes, in college he was his professor.
Absolutely incredible. Let's. I don't want to dwell on that, but that's a fascinating fact. Let's take a break right here, Chris, and we'll come back. We'll pick up where we left off. I do want to get into some of the chemistry of the Giza power plant, and we're going to discuss that next. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Night 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn. And Christopher, I want to jump into the chemistry side of things. We're talking about high technology here. And when the concept, it appears to be downloaded to you, by the way. I like that, the glowing green hieroglyphics. When the concept first came to you for the Great Pyramid to be used as a power source, that introduces chemistry, and certainly we're talking about a civilization that shouldn't have understood this. But when, in its very fundamental form, what are we talking about here when we're dealing with chemistry?
We're talking about the Queen's Chamber, but in the overall concept of the technology that was being employed, and it goes where you have a device where you can drive a gas to a high energy level, and introduce a microwave signal and then draw power from the pyramid and beam it to the outside. So that's the overall concept. And the gas that I selected was hydrogen. The reason I selected that was that the wavelength of hydrogen matched the northern shaft, the width of the northern shaft, whereas hydrogen has a wavelength of 8.309 inches, and the northern shaft has a width of 8.4 inches. So when we look for the place where this chemistry took place and gas was generated, then we look into the Queen's Chamber and all the research that has been done in the Queen's Chamber going back to the 1800s, where Piazzi Smythe discovered the southern shaft. And then the evidence, the substances that are found there, and then later when Gantenbrink sent his robot up the southern shaft and discovered that so-called door, which is not a door. I mean, the shafts are only about 8 inches square, maybe a door for a squirrel or something.
Right.
But he discovered that they had these metal fittings coming through that limestone block. And when I first saw that, and it was in Robert Bauval's book, his first book,
The Orion Mystery.
The Orion Mystery, yes. Oh, I just had a bit of a brain fart. Sorry, okay. It's the age thing, So the Orion Mystery described that exploration and then his relationship with Rudolf Gantenbrink. It was fascinating. And but when I saw the documentary that was made from that exploration and discovery, and the first time I saw, on the TV screen, this blockage of the southern shaft, because until then nobody knew where if that shaft went out to the outside or where it went, and then these copper fittings or metal fittings coming through, immediately it just fit right into the theory that I was developing, in that they were using two chemicals to boil off hydrogen in the Queen's Chamber. One was the hydrated zinc in the northern shaft and a dilute solution of hydrochloric acid, and that when they mix, they boil off hydrogen. And so the evidence in the Queen's Chamber is very strong for that, because in the early explorers noted that the chamber had a coating of salts up to 1 inch thick, and also in the northern shaft, where you have a corrosive liquid, the lower parts of the shaft actually look like they're corroded, and there's a part in the floor of the shaft that seemed to suggest that there was corrosion going on in that shaft. And then the copper fittings themselves, I say copper, but I don't know what the metal is, but these fittings were corroded and they were tapered from the top of it's wider at the top than the bottom, which suggests that liquid was actually falling and then filling up again and then falling. But the theory in the Giza power plant describes that being a fluid switch, because what you needed to determine the exact flow into the chamber was what you needed to know was what the head pressure was, and the head pressure determined what pressure you were putting up against the lower section where the shaft does not meet the Queen's Chamber. It doesn't go directly through it, but there is like a 5-inch what they call it a left, where the shaft was cut, leaving 5 inches of limestone between the shaft and the inside wall of the Queen's Chamber.
So Gantenbrink's door wasn't a door or a plug, but a switch. No. It was a switch.
It was a fluid switch, yes, and I mean, and they used they're used very popularly in a lot of machines. I mean, I was involved in managing a laser department, and we had deionized water, and we had to make sure that the water did not become ionized, and so there was a switch that was installed in the tank, and if it became ionized, then there would be electron flow between the two electrodes, and the light would go off, and then you would, an alarm would go off, and you'd have to shut the laser down because the high energy that you were driving the lamps with, if you're using ionized water to cool the lamps, then you would have problems. So those kind of devices are well known in engineering and in manufacturing, and so it seemed just natural that I would actually determine that what we have is a fluid switch. I actually built a model of the Gantt Brink store and a section of the shaft, and I demonstrated how it works, and it works perfectly fine, even with regular water.
Now, the salt deposits, I don't want that to get away from us. This is very significant. So what would the salt deposit, when the chamber was first discovered, what does that say to you?
One of the ways that you have for drying hydrogen, when you create hydrogen, is it boils off from a chemical process, but it has to dry it. It passes over limestone, and the limestone has the function where it would actually dry the gas, and then it would give up some of its salts, or it would leach salts from the limestone itself, and then that would gather on the walls.
Now, the conventional historian, Orthodox Egyptologist, would explain this away how?
I don't think they would even address it. I don't expect them to address it. They would just dismiss it out of hand because it doesn't really fit with their point of view, their worldview. So it's not something that I expect them to even address. Certainly, there have been comments made about the practicality of using a corrosive liquid in a limestone shaft. And so I had to, do an experiment myself with dilute hydrochloric acid on limestone to see what the corrosion rate was. And it definitely corrodes. It would corrode over time, but it would still, you could conduit those chemicals through a limestone shaft. And speaking of the shafts, you had a very interesting conversation. I don't know if we're finished with the chemicals yet.
No,
let's
we
talk
can go
further
ahead.
about the chemicals, because I was fascinated with your conversation with Manu last night about the actually building the shafts. On the northern shaft, they did an exploration. The Pyramid Explorer or Pyramid Rover went up the northern shaft, and they found that there was a northern blockage that also had these what I call electrodes protruding through it, but they're of a different nature than the southern shaft. Then one of the electrodes, I'm presuming the cathode, has a buildup of some kind of white substance. It looks like it's been electroplated. And there's definitely the appearance of some kind of a chemical process, like a battery. If you look at the electrodes or the leads on a battery, you see how they build up a white substance when they've been installed for quite a while. And then latest exploration of the southern shaft in the Queen's Chamber, they were able to poke a camera through a hole that articulated, and they were able to look back and get a view of the backside of those copper fittings, and they actually curl, loop around, and go back into the block.
Yeah, when I saw that, let's talk about that for a second.
Right.
What do you think is going? Yeah, what do you think is going on there?
Oh, it's fascinating, actually. And I actually made one of those, the Gantenbrink door, and I formed my own copper fittings with the loops that came back into the door. And the other part of that was the markings that were on the floor at the back of the door. So you have these copper fittings, and then you have these markings on the floor, and then when you look at the copper fittings, and you see, sure enough, one of the electrodes had this buildup of a substance on it, corrosion on it, and then the other one was clean. So it's and the markings seem to indicate how those fittings, or those metal fittings, were wired. And when I looked at the marks on the floor, it's like I'm looking at a schematic, electrical symbols. I'm not looking at a hieroglyph. So when they were first discovered, people were very puzzled because they didn't have any known hieroglyph that actually looked like them. But if you view them as being electrical symbols, it really makes sense.
Oh man, that is genius. So you know what? I'm going to make you laugh. I looked at that and I saw like childlike attempts at stick figures. I don't know how to explain it, right? Well,
there's even a line going towards the one fitting that highlights or identifies the polarity. So here, this is the positive electrode, and this is how you wire it, and it's very clear. I mean, the markings are fairly crude. Probably painted on with red ochre paint or something like that. But I have 3 articles on my articles page about the explorations of the southern shaft and the northern shaft. And there's one article called Evidence Leading to Gantenbrink's Door, then What is Behind Gantenbrink's Door, and then Beyond Gantenbrink's Door. And those articles actually include those images and photographs of the device that I made. But theories have to be predictive, and so new evidence. If you have a theory and new evidence is turned up, if it doesn't support your theory, then you have to change your theory. And if you can't change your theory, then you pretty much have to go back to the drawing board or abandon it. And it seems that every little bit of information that's been gathered supports the theory that I described and illustrated in my book, even down to the first exploration by Gantenbrink, when they used an ultrasonic thickness tester because they were going to drill through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this wasn't Gantenbrink. This was the next exploration. I think it was in 2002. They were going to drill through the door, but they needed to know how long a drill they needed to use. Right, so they used an ultrasonic thickness tester on it. And they came up with a dimension of about 3.25. And in my book, my dimension on that was illustrated to be about 3.64. So, for the design intent, it kind of drives the intention or the function of a device. It kind of drives the design of it, because that's just the way it works in engineering.
It's fascinating that you look at it as an engineer, because everybody was attempting to get a name out of that glyph, or something known from hieroglyphics, and that it was saying something, as opposed to the electrical side of things, where because when you look at anything that is representing electronics, that symbolism doesn't make sense to anybody, right? You have to be an electrician to understand what is going on there. It just doesn't look. It doesn't look like an alphabet. It doesn't look like anything. This is, and I know you're understanding exactly what I'm saying. And if you look at it through Chris Dunn's eyes, now we're looking at something else. It's a schematic. It's symbolism for schematics, which and nobody else would even understand when they first see it.
Well, yes. I mean, and probably even those who are engineers or electricians probably would. It was obvious to me, because I had done the groundwork and developed a theory where those features actually fit right in and blended right in, just like a hand in glove, and so it was obvious to me. It may not be obvious to everybody, but it seemed obvious to me, and I've written about it. I will write more about it in my next book.
Now, okay, so it's an energy source. Okay, we'll accept that. Let's go with this. But the next question is, for what?
That's a perennial question. It never goes away.
Right.
For what? And the only answer I have for whatever reason they wanted it for. Some people have actually speculated that it was a microwave beacon, where it was actually guiding crafts or triangulating with other microwave beams as a guidance system. But in terms of what we know about the generation of energy and how we use it, then we get the question, well, where are the microwave ovens? Where are the toasters? And so people are trying to understand it in modern terms. But that question could be asked about just about everything that's missing in Egypt, because there's so much missing. And, to say that, okay, we have all the tools and the inspection equipment, which would have to be fairly substantial and plentiful in order to do the work that they did. We accept that those are missing now. They've disappeared into the earth somewhere. Maybe, a huge tsunami, a big cataclysm scrubbed the landscape of all of these items. But then we need to see a toaster oven before we will accept that their largest project, which was actually a power plant, their largest project, we needed to have those items in order to prove that it was a power plant.
Well, you've thought about this a lot. You think about this every day, Chris. What is it that if you were going to put the money down, you're going to push your poker chips to the center of the table, what do you think it was used for?
I think it was used for utilitarian purposes. They were powering their civilization, and they were probably I mean, in my book, I fantasize, it's a fantasy or speculation about how that energy, if what we know about the transmission of energy today and what has been proposed, that energy could be bounced off a relay satellite to another part of the world, or to the moon, or to somewhere else, to a craft that's traveling through space. I mean, there's speculation. I mean, there's speculation that is viable to reduce the amount of fuel that a craft has to carry into orbit. They speculate that that energy could be beamed to that craft for it to use, so they don't have to have such a large payload.
Sure. So a Tesla free energy type of thought pattern here.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of, it's a pragmatic, practical speculation, or it's definitely worth discussing. And if there was, if it was decided that yes, this is what we need to do, and we need to put the funding and the resources behind it and make sure that it happens, then certainly we could make it happen for sure.
We're going to head towards a break. One quick question before we get there. The idea makes sense for the power plant. The pyramid was definitely built with intention, with engineering specs beyond what was needed. We understand that. But the question has to be answered. It's a simple one. How did primitive Stone Age man build this? Is the answer that they didn't build it and it was somebody else? Where do you stand with that today?
Well, Stone Age primitive man didn't have the tools that were capable of doing it, and so you have. For me, I would look further back into history. I think there is a gap. Where I think we have to go back to a point in time where we had some kind of a cataclysm, and the Earth and the population on the Earth was affected. So, some people go back 9,000 years, and I think Robert Schoch is one of those theorists that talk about a 9,500 years period. But certainly, if such a cataclysm happened, there would be tremendous destruction. I mean, you disrupt the supply chain for some of our industries. It's like they would grind to a halt. For instance, I'll give you an example. Aircraft engines use these exotic metals, and in those exotic metals, you have a percentage of chromium in order to create these metals. Chromium comes from South Africa. So if you disrupt the supply chain of chromium into our industries, then that will grind for a halt. We'd have to go prospecting for chromium in other parts in America, but then if you got the supply chain and the travel of goods around the world, everything is so entwined and connected that it would be such a disruption that and if you're a very large section of the world, if there was like an extinction event like that has been talked about, where a vast swath of humanity just disappears from the face of the earth, then you're dead in the water. And if you do have these artifacts still around, you probably cannibalize them and put them to use doing something different. And then a lot of if you have ferrous metals, they would erode over time. And it probably wouldn't take 10,000 years. for things to disappear. I mean, all you have to do is look in a ravine in Indiana at an old car that's just been driven over the hill.
Well, yeah, we would
after 20 years, there's
we
not much of it left.
We would find ourselves in the Stone Age really, really, really quickly.
Absolutely.
It would take very little to get us there, too, as well. Let's take a break right here, Chris. Our guest tonight, Christopher Dunn. Night 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and we're going to pick up where we left off when we come back. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com, dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
a secret. I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. From Jimmy Church. What an amazing conversation. Christopher Dunn is our guest. Night 2 of our Egypt week here on Fade to Black. And now, okay, Chris, I'm going to go there with you right now. And these are some questions I've never heard you not only address, but have been asked. And now when I've had many conversations with Graham and Robert and John Anthony West over the years. And one of the things, and Robert Schock addresses this pretty elegantly, there are 2 A words where professionals won't go, right? One is Atlantis, and the other one is aliens, right? And they protect themselves. It's a zone that they are reticent to go into. But I'm going to ask you this directly. Have you ever seen anything strange in the sky?
No, I mean, not really. No.
No UFOs. No
I've
UFOs.
not had any contact experiences or seen what I think are mysterious lights or UFOs.
Would you like to?
Oh yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? That sounds like a lot of fun.
You need to come hang out with us. The invitation is open. You need to come out, and we'll break out the night vision and just go out and experience that together, because it's an epiphany when it happens, and your brain gets confused because you're assuming the safe zone of trying to explain it away as a satellite, or it's terrestrial, and then you know that it's not. And it's great when I see somebody go through that the first time. It's an amazing thing.
You should know I'm a born skeptic.
I know. That you're primed and ready. You're a victim. You're a future victim.
I am. Huh? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will do it. We will get that out of the way. But what about the ancient alien theory and the hypothesis that has been laid out, certainly since Eric von Daniken, but today it's part of our pop culture. It's part of what makes us today. Where are you in that position?
I think I am closer to Robert Schock than the fine people who frequent that particular program. I mean the aliens and Atlantis. I have too much respect for the Egyptian culture and what they have suffered over the years in terms of people coming in and stripping them their heritage away from them. And these were earlier conquerors, whether it be the French or the British, and the hauling off their artifacts that now sit in museums all over the world, and which the Egyptians feel like they were badly done to, and so there is kind of like the New Age marauders who come in and they want to strip them of their cultural heritage by saying that they were not responsible for, their ancestors were not responsible for what exists in Egypt.
Do you bear some responsibility in that view, though? I may be seen
to bear some responsibility in that. I was asked to be on Ancient Aliens, and my mode of operation, policy has always been, I'm not going to judge or insult somebody by saying, well, if you're going to be talking, if your belief is in, say, Bible studies or, biblical archaeology, then I'm not going to share my work with you. Or if your belief is that everything was done by ancient aliens, that I'm not going to share your work with you. But I do like to be able to provide my opinion on that. And when I was asked to do Ancient Aliens, I asked them if I could comment on that and give them my opinion. And I was very clear in the interview that you can't just solely say everything was done by aliens, and that there are other possible reasons why these artifacts exist. And so you just can't, just lump it all in one all-encompassing idea, because I think you make a lot of mistakes then. You start throwing everything but the bathtub into the formation of this kind of ideology. And they were happy for me to comment on that, but I say happy. I'm not sure how happy they were. Well, I guess I do know how happy they were, because my comments didn't make it to the show. They ended up on the cutting room floor. So, but I'm not. Yeah, I would say I'm more in. I want to build up the Egyptians in terms of their self-esteem and pride in their cultural heritage. And I think that when you go there and you claim that their ancestors were not responsible for that work, that it was outsiders that came in and done it, then you lose them. And I don't want to lose the interest of the Egyptians. I want to nurture it and encourage it.
Certainly, and everything is taught. We understand that. You were taught, I was taught, everybody was taught, the ancient Egyptians were taught. And whether that information came to them to allow their civilization to be upright and functional, seemingly overnight at 3000 BC, whether it was from an ancient high technology civilization from 10, 20,000 years ago, and you had some stragglers that came in and shared that information, or if it came from the stars, or it was channeled, or it was divine, it doesn't really matter to me, does it, that the Egyptians got the information from somewhere?
Just like we get our information from somewhere when we're designing, inventing, and building our products.
Right.
I mean, I think, the Cartesian view on in separating, the material from the spiritual in terms of inspiration and design, I don't think I don't think you can take spirit off the table. But it has created a bit of a dichotomy where people think, well, if you are spiritual, then you're not material, or if you're a materialist, right, then you can't be spiritual. But I know I've met more practical engineer types and technical types who are spiritual, more of those than people who claim to be spiritual in the New Age kind of movement. So, and I see, I don't see a difference. I mean, everything is based on spirit. Everything that exists is produced through inspired thought and work. And how can you separate the spirit or the spiritual nature from those activities?
Well, you say something very interesting when you suggest, it just came to me, the idea for the Giza power plant. I had a vision, green hieroglyphics. That's a very spiritual moment to me. But then your presentation, I don't know if you realize this or not, but your presentation on the Ramses statue and its symmetry, its 3D-ness, its sphericalness, and its construction from an engineering standpoint is so compelling and so good, Chris, that it causes people like me to sit back and go, it must have been aliens.
Well, and I can understand that. I mean, I can understand that. I don't have a problem with that.
You know how good that was, right? And the research and the way that you have presented this, I have gone back and reviewed your presentations on this over and over again. And flipping that face over, right, and looking at it, I can't even tell which is right and wrong. And it is so good that you have caused people to go back and rethink their own mind, the way that they have been convinced over the years. It's your fault, man.
Well, I've had a lot of help. It's not just me. I've had an enormous amount of help along my path, and I've been blessed to have people come into my life who are extremely intelligent, extremely talented, and knowledgeable. Scientists, physicists, engineers that have helped me along the way. And are still helping me. I mean, the team I have now, I can't say enough about them. They're just brilliant people. In fact, you should have them on and talk to some of my research associates.
Absolutely.
They'd blow you away.
Absolutely.
They blow me away.
There's one point, and Manu and I touched upon it last night. I try to revisit this once a month or so. But there's one point, it's a large one, that I can't convince myself of, and that is when you compile the logistics on top of each other. The 20 years and 2.5 million blocks and 2 minutes per stone, that's been run in the ground, but it's a very valid point. But if you back off of that and you go to 500 miles to Aswan and 130 granite blocks that somehow had to get transported and quarried, that takes time, and it doesn't fit into the 20-year window. If you're dragging those blocks across the desert for 500 miles at a foot per minute, you're looking at 50 to 100 years, right? Well, that takes that out. And if you threw it in a boat or a barge, the barge would sink with a 70-ton granite block in it. So there's that part. And then you have the amount of people that would have to be involved, that would have to be fed and clothed and worked, not only for the Great Pyramid, for all of the pyramids over a 200-year period. And the logistics just don't fit. We start to calculate thousands of years, not 20 years per pyramid. It just doesn't fit. That's the way. You're an engineer. You look at all of these things when you go into a project. It just doesn't. How do you try to explain this in your own mindset, or can you?
Oh my God! No. I don't think we have enough time tonight, Jimmy.
I know, right?
You're going to have to reschedule me on because that is a fascinating subject, and I was actually chomping at the bit to talk to you about that after listening to your interview with Manu, which was an absolutely marvelous interview. What a wonderful man!
Yes, he's amazing.
Yeah, amazing guy. And I just loved every minute of it. But that subject, it's. I don't think we have enough time, Jimmy.
Well, let's visit this. I mean, how is? I think part of it, Chris, is researchers like yourself and others are giving us the knowledge that we didn't have 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago to digest this. But I think today we're starting to understand that it just from a logistical point of view, there was not enough time.
Well, I would disagree.
Oh, let's go. Perfect answer, Mr. Dunn.
No, I mean, it depends on how you look at a project, right?
Okay.
I'll give you an example. We talk about the Great Pyramid being leveled within 7/8 of an inch over 13 acres. And then we talk about, well, how were they able to achieve that precision and build all those courses of limestone with this perfect exterior, the casing stone. It would take a tremendous amount of time. And if you're building the pyramid from the inside out, and you have to level the entire site to within those tolerances, then you've got an enormous amount of work. But I don't think we're thinking about the problem the correct way. In engineering, in tool design, machine design, if you were to say we were to look at the Great Pyramid like a machine or a collection of parts that you had to fit together and come up with that final product where you have 7/8 of an inch over 13 acres, aligned to true north within 3 minutes of a degree, and then have that pyramid angle of 52 minutes, 51 degrees, 51 minutes, 14 seconds. Then you would have, it would be quite a puzzle. But you can simplify it very much. If you say, okay, we don't know how far the pavement extends under those casing blocks. And if I was to design the pyramid, the pavement where the casing blocks sit would only go as far as maybe two blocks in. In other words, only the casing stones would need to sit on such a perfectly flat surface.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay.
You follow me?
I am.
So only the casing stones. And then if you say you're going to build your casing stones very, very precisely, if you're going to be building the pyramid from the inside out, then you would have an accumulation of error and you'd have all kinds of problems. But if you cut your casing stones very precisely and you set them down on that level pavement, now remember that you're leaving the rest of the bedrock untouched. So you have, and actually that is true, that they do have a rise in the bedrock.
In the center, yes.
Center.
Yes.
I think that rise goes further out to the outer courses. But if you build it by just placing the casing stones first, which you would need to align and lay down very precisely, and butt them up together, and then just do the outside, make sure everything's aligned, and then you backfill it with blocks to fill in the core masonry.
Yeah, I've thought about this, and I've seen some ideas with this where the foundation stones don't go straight through. It's just it's like a picture frame, right? And That's on the outside, and then they're building from the outside in, and they're not concerned with any tolerances anywhere because it's rubble, it's dirt, it's fill rock, and it's actually very, very, very simple. It's beautiful on the outside. On the inside, it's garbage. Right, and that's what you're suggesting. And then if you build,
I wouldn't say garbage.
Well, not garbage, but it's filler material.
They were calling. I mean, they could place the casing stones very precisely, the same height all around, and then call for blocks to back it up, and then just build, lay them down towards the center.
Yeah, where there's no concern for tolerances.
They would also build the very, very precise shafts and passageways before they backed those features up with core masonry too.
Yeah, I talked about this last night with Manu, and I know that you listened to the show last night. If we accept that it was built and however it was built, I still go back to the very confusing issues that I have with the shafts, with the King's Chamber, with the Queen's Chamber, with the Grand Gallery, and how you have to build around those perfectly straight shafts. It's an engineering nightmare. If I presented you, Chris, with this idea today, you would tell me to go take a hike.
What's your idea?
To build a great pyramid.
Let's go. No. I mean, let's go for it. You get the funding, we'll go for it.
It would,
I'll get my team on it.
That's I don't know how they did the shafts. I don't know how they did the Grand Gallery. It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I've almost imagined them building the Grand Gallery out like it was some kind of temple first, and they just built the pyramid around it and filled it in.
Well, the design of the shafts and the way they were built, they would have created a plane at the angle that they designed, and while it was still open to the sky, the shafts actually have a block with a channel running through it, upturned and sitting on a flat surface, and that flat surface you could have aligned without, in the open space, without the constraints of saying, okay, how do we do this with these very, very small openings?
Well, you still have to slot the blocks, even if the slots were big slots, and you blocked them in on the inside with smaller blocks, which appears in Gaten Brink's video that was indeed the case. I see all of that, but you still have to slot the larger blocks.
Yeah. It could be done. I mean, it could be done. I'm not saying it would be easy, but it could be done.
I want to thank you. When can I get you back on the show?
Anytime.
All right, that's the right answer. Are you heading over to Egypt again?
I have a tour that I'm taking. I'm taking people to Egypt in March of 2019. There is a link on my page, on my front page. It's the Lost Technologies Tour of Egypt.
I've got it. I've got it. Right. I've got it right here, and the links are up at jimmychurchradio.com. We'll put it up in Twitter right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and my pleasure, Chris. And let's don't take 5 years to do it again. If you're heading over to Egypt in March, then we'll get you on the show before that, and then when you return. How is that?
Anytime, Jimmy. Been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Fascinating conversation, Chris. And again, for me and the community, just thank you for everything that you do and continue to do. You are so important to all of us. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Jimmy. I appreciate it. And happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Chris. And hey, are you on Twitter?
I have a Twitter account, but I don't Twitter. I mean, I don't post on it.
You don't tweet. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
I don't know. I don't tweet. Just the word tweet.
Oh, Oh, man, Chris, you are amazing. Thank you so much. What a great conversation.
It has been. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Christopher Dunn. His website, of course, is gizapower.com. All of the information for his tour in March is right there. And the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll swing back around and open up the phone lines, and we'll chat with everybody. All right? I'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio, and, of course, email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. What a great conversation. gizapower.com. I'm your Jimmy Church. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I want to thank Christopher Dunn. That is a cool dude right there. Unbelievable conversation, and I've got like 100 highlights from tonight that I will never forget. And he's never seen a UFO. Wants to. Right? And his support of the Egyptian culture is paramount. And that is very, very, very impressive right there. And the non-tolerance theory, right? You build it from the outside, high degree of tolerances, and then you work your way in where you're not worried about that. Right? That's pretty interesting. You only need to worry about the outer layers being level and square and true, and the casing stones. But on the inside, it's all about speed, right? And getting it done. A very, very, very cool conversation. Thank you so much, Chris. And again, it's gizapower.com, and his tour is in March, and the information is right there over at his website. Let's go to the phones. Go to area code 225. You're up first on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is Joey Palazzo. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I just hit 51 the other day, and happy 55 to you.
51. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you crossed the threshold last year. Yeah, it's pretty dramatic when you go from 49 to 50. You know,
man, if I get another ARP thing in the mail, I think I'm going to scream.
I know, right? Oh, man, I see those commercials. If you are over 55, I'm like, man, I'm not there yet, but here I am. So, all right, Joe, what's on your mind tonight, my friend?
I got a question for Mr. Dunn. Is he still around? Can I ask him a question?
No, he has departed. He's out east, man, and it's pretty late at night. I didn't want to keep him any further. I was tempted to, though.
My question was regarding the. You might want to put your finger on the bleep button here because I'm gonna try to say it. But the Shisk disc wasn't discussed, and I was curious if he had any knowledge of what it was used for, any hypothesis, or if he had seen any other devices that looked like they were involved in manufacturing some of the things that he's seen and measured over there.
Yeah, I know, and that I didn't get to that, and I should have. I've asked Jaws about that, and John or Robert Schock and others because the first time that I saw it, I was like, wait a minute here, right? Let me ask you, what do you think?
I think it was a ceiling fan.
Yeah, right. It looks okay. All right. Well, it is definitely beautiful, right? Like it is so delicate, and it just doesn't look like a vase, right? It doesn't look like a bowl. It doesn't look like a plate. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Conventional things. That is done on purpose to function as something, and it's too beautiful. I mean, now, okay, but let me ask you this, Joe. How was that carved?
Man, that's a good question.
How was that carved?
It had to be cut. It was cut and bended. Bent. I'm sorry. Somehow it looks like it was cut and bent with precision, and it looks like it was spun. Meant to be spun on an axle.
Right. There's a hole. There's a hole in the middle.
I don't know if it was for, water propulsion or for moving air for circulation or, through some, because they still don't know how they got air down in some of those chambers to be able to work down that deep, So it maybe was used to pump air through, some of the chambers.
Now,
who knows? While it's working.
Okay, this is what's crazy. I'm going to throw this out at you. If it was carved, right? Carved with somehow, right, out of a block of stone, then how was it carved? Because it looks folded to me too. It looks melted. It's so smooth and curvy. But if it was carved, just picture some artisan back then carving this thing. I mean, how is that? It's the inside of it too as well. How are you going to carve and remove the stone underneath the blades? Right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I presumed it was made of metal. I did not know it was made of stone. Now, recently, I saw a video on YouTube. I tweeted it a little while ago, but I saw a video on YouTube where a guy was using like these copper and bronze templates to vibrate and make these impressions into stone and cut through stone with it. It was kind of like the same process that the vibrating cast removal, that doesn't cut you, when you get a cast removed and it doesn't cut you, but it cuts through the cast.
Right.
There was that kind of technique, like it was vibrating at high frequency. So maybe they had a tool like that was a metal template that they used to vibrate at a high frequency somehow. I don't know. I mean, you have to use electricity to do that in a modern sense, but how they carved something like, I did not know it was made of stone. I don't know. I'm mind blown, dude. I had no idea.
Now, check this out, okay? Egyptologists will tell you at the Cairo Museum, I hope you're sitting down, that it is a lotus flower vase.
Yeah, right. They graduated from the same university, right?
Now, if that is a lotus flower vase, where are the other ones? Right? Or they only made one? There's lots of vases around Egypt. There's tens of thousands of them. Outside of, I'm trying to think of the pyramid that they were excavating, they found 40,000 vases there. That even those, when you look at those, you have to ask yourself how those were made. And nobody really wants to address this. Because they're perfect. They're perfect. They're perfect. And now the pyramid, I think they found it, I might be wrong, might be Khafre. I think it was outside of Khafre, the center, the middle pyramid there. They found these 40,000 vases, and they're all on display. A bunch of them are on display. But they don't talk about how they were made. Right? They'll talk about what was inside of them. Like who cares, right? I don't care about wheat, right? I don't care about dirt. I don't care what's inside of them. I want to know how they made them because they're beautiful. And now we're talking about 2500 BC. And they replicated them one after another. And apparently, Joe, it was really bleeping easy. Because they found 40,000 of them.
It had to be. It had to be some kind of like a production line, Which kind of brings me to my next question: is that if something like that is so popular and there's only one of them, if the pyramids were used to generate electricity or some kind of power, what devices were they powering? They don't have any record of any kind of light bulbs in homes, or nobody had a toaster or a blender or anything like that. The Egyptian. So what were they powering? If it was a power plant, what was it powering?
I'm looking here to see what the disc was made of. I need somebody to post it up on Twitter. I'm not going to waste my time right here. My mind says it was like black granite or diorite, which even then, diorite is as hard as diamond or just about on the hardness scale. So how would you carve this and smooth this? If this is metal, Now we're talking about a bona fide piece of machinery. I didn't know it was metal. Can somebody tell me what the disc of...
I just Googled it, and I got an answer from Wikipedia. It says it's a medium-grade metamorphic rock with... No, schist is the actual material. I'm sorry. The actual schist disc. Yeah, keep your finger on that bleep button, man. I'm trying to say that slowly.
I know that's okay. You can say a shit disc, But the did I just say that? I got to bleep myself. You said it's made of a stone. What was the stone?
No. I was actually reading the definition of the word schist in Wikipedia. Schist is actually a stone. From what it sounds like, I may be misspeaking. I'm not a scholar or anything here, but let me see. I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it too. Somebody's going to post it here in Twitter. Somebody just said it's a composite. Come on, everybody. Let's go. What is it made out of? But because I remember when I first saw it years ago. Oh my God, I don't even know. I thought it was metal. But then
it does look like metal. It really does. How big is it? I mean, is it?
It's about a foot. It's about a foot. I've seen it in the display case.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about a foot in diameter. But
all I can find here is that it's a delicate material requiring very tedious carving. So it must be some kind of stone or something. Let me see here if I can find this real quick.
Okay, what was the second question?
About the things that if the pyramids were powering, a source of power. What were they powering? What devices were they powering? We don't find, Egyptian toasters or blenders or microwave ovens or anything like that, or light bulbs even. Well, maybe there's a question about whether they had light bulbs or not with some of those hieroglyphics that they have that might indicate that, but. Other than light bulbs, what else could it have been powering?
I see now. You heard Chris Dunn's answer was, powering cities and civilization, and maybe beaming the energy to something else off planet or to the moon. It's made out of siltstone. Metal siltstone.
Wow.
What the heck? I don't even know what that is. Hold on for a second. Has undergone that's even a stone, a siltstone that has gone under metamorphism to some degree, whatever that is.
I've never heard of it. That's interesting.
It's a material that has a range of silt and clay. So now we're getting it could, wow, that's even more fascinating to me. What minerals are in it? Iron oxide, silica. Okay. Compacted together, cemented together into a solid stone. It's composited from iron oxides and cementing materials. There you go. Minerals are deposited in the spaces between the silt grains by water. That's even more fascinating. It's a composite material for sure. This is what about, and I know we're getting into crazy science fiction and Stargate and all of that. But what if it was a transporting device using that energy to go to a parallel world, to go to another dimension, a teleporter type of situation? That you were placed into. This is what I thought. You lay down in the sarcophagus and poof.
Beam me up, right?
Right. Okay, I'm just saying.
I don't know, but it sounds like you got enough material for a second interview with Mr. Dunn. I think for sure you start off with that stuff.
Well, Graham Hancock talks enough about this, and I have to. I listen to everybody. I listen to everything. I'm trying to figure this out just like everybody else is. But Graham definitely talks about this being a transformational place to go transported into the afterlife. Right. And so in some aspect, we don't really fully understand what that may mean, but there are suggestions in a lot of the text to support this idea. But are we going to the next level where what I'm suggesting, actually transporting? I'm talking about you, Joe, disappearing.
Yeah.
Right, and appearing somewhere else, into another dimension, into a parallel world, to Mars. I don't know. And if we're going, and taking it into the Stargate idea, and presupposing something like this, well, okay, I'm okay with it. And the reason why I listen to anybody's ideas here is because, quite simply, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Well, I can tell you one thing, though. The schist disc being made of that kind of material, I don't think it was used to cut or bore through anything. It wasn't a tip. It wasn't a cutting tool. It was used to do something else. I mean, if it was used to cut, you're not going to cut granite with a piece of that kind of stone like that. It sounds like it's fragile. It sounds like it would crack or break. So it had to spin. It might have some kind of properties when it spins. If it spins it.
How about an exhaust fan in the Giza Pizza Parlor? Right? Hey.
Yeah, man.
And let's just say, and I'm not being funny here. I'm not being funny.
Okay.
Because it looks to me to be very propeller-ish. Right?
Yes.
Like it was designed to sit on a shaft in some kind of tube, and it was moving volumes of air, or water. Right? That's what it looked at. I'm sorry, that's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like a lotus flower vase.
And if I had to guess at that, if I had to guess at it, I'd say it was moving air in those chambers while they were working down there, because you can't go too far, like in those gold mines and stuff. You can't go too far in a cave like that, or in a tunnel without running out of oxygen. Fresh oxygen you will pass out and die after a pretty good distance. So they had to have something that moved that air. I wonder if anybody could 3D print it, and spin it, and see what happens.
Somebody somewhere has to have made a model. I'm looking at one here. I'm looking at a 3D printed version of it right here. Wow, look at this. Okay, hold on for a second. Let me. Are you on Twitter?
I am at Real Joey Dude.
Okay.
Real Joey.
Okay.
DOD.
Okay, hang on. No, what I'm going to tell you to do is just go straight over to Twitter right now, and I am going to post this right now. I messed it up. Okay, it doesn't matter. I love doing this live on the air. See, this is what I act like when I'm on the computer. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, now check this out. I just posted, bam, a 3D printed version of it. Go and check it out. Hashtag F2B or go to my feed.
Wow, I see it. What in the world?
I know, right? Right?
Could that have been, because it's not, like a fan or a propeller would have to have one edge of those blades would have to be off. It wouldn't be
to cause movement, to cause movement forward or up or down or whatever, to change flow.
They'd have to create lift, whether it's water or whatever, air or whatever. It'd have to create some kind of lift. So maybe it was used to.
I don't know. See, look, that's obvious. You'd have to put that on a shaft. so it could spin freely, and then pour water over it or blow on it and see what happens. And it could also be some kind of leveling. If you had a liquid in the middle, that it would then drip over the holes once it was full, and maybe it was some kind of control device.
Maybe it's no, it wouldn't be a propeller for wind power generation, anything like that.
Well, you know what? But we're looking at it. We're looking at it with our modern minds here because we know what a propeller looks like, right? But
right.
we don't know what would happen to this if wind or liquid was moving past this. Or what
it might be a toy. It could be a toy, you just never know.
Oh, you know what I just thought of? Yeah. What if it was like a grinding device, like at the bottom of a blender?
Yeah, like to blend coffee. To
blend coffee. But what if it did something else? What if it was a blending type of, maybe it was combining something?
Mixing mortar.
Mixing two liquids together.
I don't know. I like the way you think, man.
I like the way you think. I would have never thought of it if you didn't call, Joe.
Well, I wish we would have been able to get Mr. Dunn to take a look at that and see what his opinion is.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought about it like 3 or 4 times, but I can tell you what I can tell you what it's not. It's not a lotus flower vase. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty cocky there. Hey, Joe, thank you so much, man, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Brad Clausen is here. Were you a fan of his artwork?
Who's that?
Brad Clausen, tomorrow night.
No, sir. I'm totally ignorant of that. I apologize.
What do you mean? You weren't... what's your favorite band?
Oh, I'd have to say Rush, Pink Floyd, Iron Maiden, yes, something like that. I play bass, so.
Right. What about Pearl Jam?
Oh, Pearl Jam's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, he did all of Pearl Jam's artwork. He was their in-house designer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he's going to be on tomorrow night?
That's tomorrow night.
Wow, I have to check that out. Okay. And what does that have to do? I think this was Egypt Week. He's going to be on for Egypt Week?
That's right, because it's his research into symbolism in ancient Egyptian art and sculpture that he has figured out a bunch of this symbolism and what it means. And it's going to be an incredible show. And he incorporates this back into his artwork.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
You need to check that out. I'll see you tomorrow night, Joe. Be safe and be well.
Have a good one. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Great phone call right there. I really appreciate that. The Sabu disc. I still don't know what it is. It's definitely not a lotus flower vase. And with that, oh, man, I got to mute Joe there. Okay. I got to get out of here. What a great conversation tonight. Tomorrow night is night 3 of our Egypt week. Like I just said, Brad Clausen is going to be here. Just an amazing Manu, Chris, and Brad all in one week. And I'll see everybody right here tomorrow night. And I think I got the hall pass for Merida. It's taco truck night. So I'm going to go out and find me a taco truck, head home, and get something to eat. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. I got to thank Christopher Dunn for coming in tonight. What a great conversation. I waited for that for so many years. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be copied, rebroadcast, downloaded, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, Brad Clausen. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.